Okay, Liz, that'll do. Hop down here a sec. G'day, I'm Bob Mildren, and I've been coaching trampoline for over 20 years. I'd like you to meet Liz Jensen, who'll be demonstrating the skills on this video. She is the 1988 World Champion in women's double mini trampoline. Okay, Liz, you can go and get yourself ready while I talk a little about safety and what we'll be showing on this tape. The popularity of the trampoline for home use, especially by children, has increased considerably over recent years. Unfortunately, there are many who consider a trampoline to be nothing more than a toy, and perhaps inadvertently overlook the possibilities of injury due to misuse. Many parents simply set the trampoline up in the backyard and tell their children, go. It is rare for any formal coaching to take place first, and supervision is often non-existent. Surely a child would not be given a bicycle for the first time and sent out onto a busy road to learn how to ride it. A trampoline should be given the same respect. Properly used, a trampoline will give endless hours of enjoyment. Before we start learning the basic skills of trampolining, there are a number of safety rules that should be observed. When setting up a trampoline outside, the first consideration should be a safe area. That is, level ground with, if possible, a soft surround such as a lawn, and no overhead obstructions such as tree branches or clotheslines. Keep well clear of fences and sharp garden edging. In fact, any dangerous object that is likely to cause injury should you fall off the trampoline. If the ground is not level, use concrete slabs or wooden blocks to build the trampoline up and test with a spirit level. Don't allow anyone underneath the trampoline while it is in use, and never store objects there. Safety pads are strongly recommended to help safeguard against injury should you fall onto the frame. When using a trampoline, climb on carefully and never jump from the trampoline to the ground. Other important safety rules are to have only one at a time on a trampoline and never fool around. It really is best to have some sort of supervision. Keep fingernails and toenails trimmed to prevent painful catching on the mat. And do not wear shoes or boots, articles of jewellery, badges or watches while bouncing. And please don't attempt to eat or drink while you're on the trampoline. Don't allow ball games to be played near the trampoline when it is in use. The distraction of a ball suddenly hurtling towards a person bouncing could result in an accident. The purpose of this video coaching tape is to promote a safe approach to the basic skills of trampolining. In this tape, there are more than 30 skills and skill combinations compiled in a progressive learning fashion based on my personal experience of coaching beginners. The order of skill learning can be slightly rearranged to suit individual need, but I emphasise that it is far safer to master one skill before commencing the next in the progression recommended. I strongly advise also that somersaults of any kind are not to be attempted at this level of skill learning. It is most important that these are taught by a qualified coach. So, if after you have successfully completed all the skills and skill combinations on this videotape and you wish to progress further, my advice is to join a reputable club. Contact your state association for further information in this regard. So, once more, treat the trampoline with respect, apply the safety rules I have mentioned, learn the skills on this tape in the correct sequence, no somersaults remember, and you would have learnt to use the trampoline the safe way. Good bouncing. Stand in the middle of the trampoline facing one of the short ends. You should never bounce facing the long sides. Focus your eyes on the middle of the end frame, have your feet comfortably apart and arms to your side. Start your jumping by pushing evenly with your feet, flexing at the knees and ankles, and then straightening the body when you're in the air. Don't look down at your feet while you are jumping. Instead, keep looking at the middle of the end frame. Keep the arms to your side as you jump. Don't let them wave around all over the place. Bring your legs together when you're in the air and try to point your toes downward toward the mat. As you get better, push harder to get more height, but be very careful to jump only to a height that you can control comfortably. If you begin to lose control, then stop bouncing immediately, go back to the middle of the mat and start all over again.
The next skill is called a forward and backwards splits jump. In this jump, the legs are split like scissors in the air, with one leg lifted forwards while the other is lifting backwards. The legs should be kept absolutely straight, no bended knees, and the toes pointed. Once again, the arms are kept to the sides of the body, head up, and eyes looking at the centre of the end frame. The third skill is known as a star jump. This is like doing an astride jump in the air where the legs and arms are raised outwards from the body at the same time to form what looks to be from the front view a star. Note that once again the knees are kept straight and the toes are pointed, and the arms are also kept as straight as possible when you are doing this skill. Keep your head up and eyes on the centre of the end frame to help you stay in the middle of the trampoline. A tuck jump is performed by drawing the knees up into the chest while at the same time bending the upper part of the body downward slightly to meet the knees. This is important to help maintain balance. Don't try to tuck too soon. Think of a straight jump first. Then when you've pushed away from the mat and are nearly at the top of your jump, tuck the knees by grasping the shins. Don't forget to bend forward a little as you do, then straighten out for the landing. Don't hold the tuck too long. Of course, you must keep your eyes on the centre of the end frame all the time. And try to point your toes downward towards the mat as well as keeping your knees and ankles together. The next skill is a straddle jump. In the straddle jump, the legs are brought up apart at right angles to the body and each other. The arms are stretched forward to the tops of the feet, knees perfectly straight, toes pointed. It is important once again that the upper part of the body is bent forwards as the legs are brought up to help maintain balance. As with the tuck jump, wait until you have jumped clear of the mat before bringing the legs up. Perform the straddle, then quickly straighten the body for the landing. Next we have the pike jump. In this, the legs are brought up but kept together, knees straight, toes pointed in front of the body. Reach forward as the legs come up to try to touch the tops of the feet. This will help to maintain balance. Don't hold the position for too long or you'll find it hard to come back to feet again. Remember to jump clear of the trampoline before lifting the legs. The next skill is a half twist jump. This is simply a straight jump in which the body is turned to face the end frame directly behind you. The twisting action is obtained by turning the hips, head and shoulders in the direction you wish to turn just as you push away from the mat. Don't try to twist too soon or you'll go sideways or lose balance. Keep the arms to the sides and as you turn, look for the middle of the end frame behind you. The seat drop is our next skill, but first of all we will show you the position of a seat drop which you should practice yourself before attempting it from a jump. Sit in the middle of the trampoline with your legs straight and toes pointed toward the middle of the end frame. Place your hands just behind your seat so that you are leaning back slightly. Make certain that your fingers are pointing in the same direction as your toes. This is very important. Now, to get the position from a bounce, simply raise the legs together with knees straight, toes pointing at the springs ahead of you, and allow yourself to drop into the position you have just practiced. Remember to have your fingers pointing in the same direction as your toes. Make sure that the legs are kept straight, and if you point to the springs with your toes, you should land in the correct position. To bounce up to feet again, push gently with your hands on the mat and allow your legs to drop to the standing position. Before doing the knees drop from a jump, we will show you the landing position on the mat. You should practice this before attempting to do it from a jump, because an incorrect landing will often cause problems. Kneel in the centre of the mat with the knees about shoulder width apart and the toes together behind you to form a triangular base. Don't curl the toes under. The body is kept quite upright with the arms straight at the sides. The head is kept erect with the eyes looking at the centre of the frame in front of you. To land in this position from a straight jump, simply lift the heels behind you until the lower legs are parallel to the mat and drop to the mat, not jumping forward or jumping back, certainly not leaning forward or leaning back, but making sure it is a very straight drop. The knees landing exactly where the feet once were on the mat. Try it from a low jump first, then gradually increase the height as you get better at it. Don't forget to keep the eyes focused all the time on the end frame and make sure the body is kept absolutely straight at the point of landing. This is really a combination of two skills, the knee drop and of course the seat drop. Do the knee drop as before, and as you bounce up from the mat, simply swing the legs underneath you to land in the seat drop. So, knee drop first, swing the legs underneath, straighten them, point the toes at the springs, and then do the seat drop. Next, we do this combination of skills in the opposite direction. That is, seat drop to knees drop. So, starting with a seat drop this time, remembering to point the toes to the springs, keeping the legs straight, bounce up from the mat, bend the legs underneath the body to the knee drop position. Remember, don't lean forward, don't lean back. Keep the arms to the side to help you hold the upright position for the knees drop landing. Before we do the hands and knees drop from a jump, we will show you the position on the mat. Kneel down on all fours, placing the knees about shoulder width apart, with the feet together behind you to form the same triangular base you made when you did the knee drop. The hands are placed flat on the mat, fingers pointing forward, just in front of the knees. Now don't reach out too far, hands just in front of the knees. The eyes should be looking forward to the end frame, or they can be looking down at the mat where the hands will land. If you have trouble getting your hands and knees to land at the same time, then watching your hands, that is looking down, can be quite helpful. Don't sit back on your heels. Now from a jump, drop into this position, making certain that you don't dive forwards. In fact, try to land exactly over the spot where the feet were. Make sure you don't reach out too far. The hands should be kept fairly close to the knees. It's most important that the hands and the knees land on the mat at exactly the same time, so make sure that the back is slightly rounded to enable you to reach down enough for that to happen. This combination is really a lead-in to the safe learning of a front drop landing. First, we'll show you the correct position of the front drop. Lie face down on the mat with the body fully stretched, legs and feet together, and the hands placed just in front of the face, fingertips almost touching, and arms positioned so that the elbows are in a direct line with the ears. Make sure that it is the soft under part of the forearms that are in full contact with the mat, so that the tender point of the elbow itself is not in touch with the mat. I recommend a long sleeve jumper or top be worn while you are at first learning this landing. The eyes should be looking at the centre of the end frame. Now, from a hands and knees drop, after you have bounced up, extend the legs to the rear, parallel to the mat, and open out for the front drop landing. It's most important that you do not propel yourself forward or dive into that front drop landing. One way of thinking about the correct landing is that your stomach should land on exactly the spot that your hands and knees position was to start with. To come to feet, push with the hands and let the legs drop. The next progression is to do the front drop from a straight jump. The important things to remember are to extend the legs to the rear and that you don't dive forward. So, from a straight jump, lift the legs to the rear and drop to the mat onto your front. Try to land your stomach where your feet were to start with. So that means, of course, lifting the legs just that little bit towards the rear, making sure that you're parallel to the bed as you drop. Once again, to come up to your feet, simply push away from the mat with your hands and let your legs drop for the landing. Once you have mastered the front drop, you can try some more skill combinations. This time, front drop to seat drop. Now, from a front drop landing, push down with the hands, swing the legs through to point the feet at the springs and land on the seat. Don't forget to correctly place your hands for the seat drop landing. Keep your legs as straight as you can. So, front drop, push the legs through, seat drop. Now we do the previous combination in reverse. That is, seat drop to front drop. Once again, the push from the hands play an important part when doing this. The body has to go forward this time, so from a seat drop, push with the hands, tuck the legs in underneath you, then stretch the body for the front drop landing. Push with the hands, tuck, then stretch for the front drop landing. Next, we do the basic skills, adding a half twist before landing back on feet. The first of these is a knee drop half twist to feet. From a knee drop landing, bounce up, then turn the head and shoulders to face the opposite direction. Look for the center of the end frame behind you. It's very important to bounce up from the mat, straightening the legs as you do before attempting to twist in the direction that feels most natural to you. A seat drop half twist to feet is next. As with the previous skill, it is very important to bounce up from the mat before attempting the twist. So, drop into a good seat drop, bounce up, then turn the head and shoulders quickly to face the middle of the frame behind you. Keep your arms to your side as you do this. Don't let them flail around or they'll interfere with your twist. Make sure you twist in the same direction as you did for the knee drop half twist to feet. One of the most important things to do when you are learning the front drop half twist to feet is to push fairly vigorously with the hands away from the mat so that the body will come up straight before you try to twist. From a good front drop, push with the hands, keeping the body as straight as possible, then turn the head and shoulders in the direction of your twist, once again looking for the middle of the end frame. Don't forget to keep your arms to the sides of your body. Now we're about to put the half twist before the basic skill. The first of these is the half twist to knee drop. This time, Thinking of the half twist jump that was done earlier, Skill 7 in fact, do the half twist jump, but instead of landing on feet, simply drop to the knees, making sure that once again the body is upright, arms to the side, and the eyes looking at the centre of the end frame ahead of you. Don't forget to continue to twist in the same direction as all of your other twisting skills. At first, we will do the half twist to seat drop in a similar fashion to the previous skill, thinking of the half twist jump first by turning the head, shoulders and hips in your normal twisting direction, arms to the sides, then stretching the legs, pointing the toes to the springs in the middle of the end frame that was originally behind you and dropping to the seat position. Once again, the eyes looking for the middle of the end frame. Now for the first time we want to introduce the use of an arm swing, which will be useful in performing this and many skills that follow. As you take off for the half twist jump, swing the arms forward and upward and apply the twist as before. As you drop towards the mat, continue to swing the arms downward for the seat drop landing. Many of you will discover that this arm swing makes the half twist to seat drop easier to do. This is very similar to the half twist to seat drop from the straight jump position using the arm swing. And it is an important lead up to the next skill you'll be learning, the seat drop, half twist to seat drop, or swivel hips as it's commonly known. But back to the knee drop, half twist to seat drop. From the knee drop, with a very slight lean forward, swing the arms forward and upward, turning the head, shoulders and hips in the direction of your twist, straightening the legs and pointing the toes at the middle springs, drop to the seat drop landing. Don't forget to finish with your hands in the correct seat drop position. The next skill is a seat drop, half twist to seat drop, more commonly known as a swivel hips. If you've practiced the knee drop, half twist to seat thoroughly, you may not have very much trouble learning this skill. First, concentrate on a good seat drop landing. Push with the hands almost as if you're going to front drop. Swing the arms forward and up, while at the same time swinging the legs, held straight, directly underneath you. Then turn the head and shoulders in particular in the direction of your twist, just as you did with the knee drop, half twist to seat. Point the toes to the middle springs behind you and complete the second seat drop. It's very important to swing the legs underneath the body and not sideways around the body. If you keep your legs straight, toes pointed, and imagine you are drawing a straight line down the middle of the mat with a piece of chalk held between your toes, you should complete this skill. Once again, the arms swung forward and upward over the head will help with the twist. The next skill is the half twist to front drop. In this, the feet and legs are extended towards the frame ahead of you, pointing the toes at the springs in fact, getting part of the twist off the mat immediately on takeoff, and completing the twist in the air. Part of the twist off the bed, the rest, the completed movement, in the air. Keep the body straight, the legs stretched, and remember to start by pointing the feet toward the springs ahead of you. The eyes should be watching the feet point at the springs. The twisting action itself comes mainly from turning the hips in the required direction, making sure you bring the head and shoulders around to complete the twist. First, we'll show you the backdrop landing position. Lie on your back and lift the legs fairly high, not straight up, about 60 or 70 degrees to the mat. Arms alongside the body, the head forward with the chin on the chest. Keep the legs straight and together and point the toes skyward. Now to do the backdrop, it's best to learn it first without jumping. So, standing in the middle of the mat, fold your arms across your chest and then lower your head as if to place your chin on your chest as well. Now push your hips forward as far as possible until you're off balance, then lift the legs up to the 60 to 70 degree angle and drop to your back. It's very important to make sure you land entirely on your back. That is, the area from your hips to your shoulders landing at the one time. Keep the arms folded so there won't be the temptation to break your fall, and keep the chin on the chest. The neck muscles holding tight so that the head doesn't contact the mat when you land. Arms across the chest, chin on chest, push forward with the hips, off balance, bring the legs up. Now once you have successfully practiced this without jumping, you can attempt it with just a slight jump, hardly moving off the mat, and repeating exactly what you did before. So, arms across the chest, little bit of a bounce, hips lifted, legs up, drop to your back. To land on your feet from a back drop, simply allow yourself to bounce up from the mat, then swing your legs in a downward motion towards the mat. When you are confident of a correct landing, the arms can be placed alongside the body and you can jump a little higher. To land on your feet, just allow yourself to bounce up and gently swing your legs downward toward the mat. Once again, this is really a combination of two skills and is an extension of the front drop to seat drop learnt earlier. From a good front drop, push vigorously with the hands away from the mat, swing the legs underneath you, tucking them at the same time, let the shoulders drop backwards, and then straightening the legs just before you land in the normal back drop position. So, push with the hands, tuck the legs, then straighten them again for the back drop landing. Remember to let your shoulders drop backward toward the mat after pushing and tucking. This time, we are going to combine 4 skills to make a little routine. What we are doing is going from knees to seat, then seat to front, front to back, and up to feet again. So, from jumping, go from the knees to the seat, front, and then back, and up to feet again. Don't forget, keep the knee drop very straight. Remember to use your hands to push against the mat to go from seat to front and front to back. You're going to lose height doing this combination, so be forceful with your push against the mat. This combination is the reverse to the front drop to back drop, with one big exception. This time you don't use your hands, you use your legs instead. So from a good back drop landing, kick the legs forward, tuck them, then stretch out for the front drop landing. Hips up for the back drop, kick the legs forward, tuck, and then open out again for the front drop landing. Next we do a back drop half twist of feet. Now it's very important with this one that the twist is not applied as soon as you've landed on your back. It's important that you bounce up off your back first before applying the twist. And the twist is applied by turning again at the hips. So back drop, bounce up, turn at the hips, bring your head and shoulders around, and you've made your back drop half twist of feet. Of course, look for the middle of the end frame behind you. Now we do the back drop with a half twist before it. The best way to tackle this one is by first of all thinking about your twisting direction. If you twist to the left, or anti-clockwise, then point your right arm at an angle of about 45 degrees to the mat. If you twist to the right or clockwise, then point your left arm at the 45-degree angle to the mat. In this case, we'll be twisting to the left, so we will hold out the right arm. We'll practice this without a jump. Now, by falling toward the mat as if you were doing a front drop, the arm pointed at the mat is swung to the left and a normal backdrop landing follows. After you've spent some time practicing this without jumping, you can now try it with a very small jump. Same move. Point to the mat, fall towards it as if you were doing a front drop, swing the arm towards the side in your direction of twist, then concentrate on a good backdrop landing. Remember to keep your legs up at the last moment. The next stage is to do the skill without physically pointing. Imagine you are pointing to the mat. You go forward as if you were doing a front drop, but now with your arms to the side, you think of turning the shoulders in the direction of twist. But the points to remember are first to go forward as if you were doing a front drop, then turn using your shoulders to land on the back. The full twist jump is often called a pirouette. When doing this, the first thing to concentrate on is a straight push off the mat, just as if you were doing a straight jump. Now, keeping the eyes focused on the middle of the end frame, bounce out of the mat, then turn the hips, head and shoulders in the required direction of twist, keeping the arms to the side and the legs together. Notice that the head is kept up, looking at the end frame to start with, and then as the body is turned, looks for the end frame again. Make sure you keep the body absolutely straight, head up and arms to the side throughout the whole movement. Next, we do the full twist to seat drop. It's very important though to concentrate all your attention on the full twist jump first. When and only when the full twist has been completed, any old drop to your seat can be substituted for a feet landing. It doesn't matter whether the legs are bent at this stage, as long as you think of the full twist jump first, but then instead of landing on feet, simply drop to the seat. Now once this is under control, gradually extend the legs, pointing the toes at the middle of the end frame and drop to the correct seat drop position. So, think of a full twist jump, then when you have completed the twist, extend the legs, pointing the toes at the middle of the end frame and drop to seat. It's very important to complete the full twist before you extend the legs. The next skill we will do is a full twist to backdrop. But before we do that, let us first revise a half twist to front drop. Remember to point the toes towards the springs first, getting part of the twist off the mat and completing the twist in the air. Now, as you are doing this, see where that mat is. See when you are going to land on it. Make sure that it's well and truly fixed in your mind. As soon as your mind is clearly thinking of these things, the next stage is to perform the half twist to front drop, but then at the last moment, when you see the mat, continue to land on the back. So, each time thinking of the half twist to front, when you see the mat, continue to twist to land on your back. Don't think of this skill straight away as a full twist to back drop. It's much more important to have half twist to front drop in your mind at first, then complete the twist in the air. The next skill is known as a half turntable. It's really a front drop, half twist to a front drop, where the twist goes sideways, similar to the half twist jump. If you've been following the progressive skills on this tape correctly, you should have little trouble doing this skill safely. However, if your trampoline is very small and you have doubts, wait until you can try it on a larger trampoline. The first stage is to do a hands and knees drop, bounce up and turn in your normal twisting direction to land hands and knees facing the end frame behind you. To get the twist, push your hands across the face of the mat in the opposite direction to your twist. Now make sure you keep your eyes looking down at the mat and stay in the hands and knees position all the way around. Don't push away from the mat as you would to go to seat or back. It's a sideways push across the face of the mat, and you push in the opposite direction to the way you want to twist. The second stage is to do a hands and knees drop around to a front drop. So from the hands and knees drop landing, stay in the position until you're right around and then stretch out for the front drop landing. Hands and knees, turn, stay in the position, stretch out for the front drop. The third stage is to do the opposite to that. We do the front drop around to a hands and knees drop. Making sure your hands are in the correct position for the front drop, once again push across the face of the mat with reasonable force in the opposite direction of your twist, not away from the mat. Then you quickly go into the hands and knees position and hold that position until you land facing the end frame behind you. Make sure your eyes are looking down at the mat for the whole movement. The fourth and final stage is like joining the second and third stages together. So you go front drop, push to the side, tuck the legs underneath you, and when you're around, open out to the front drop landing. Remember to push across the face of the mat and to hold that tuck until you're around. The final skill on this videotape is known as a cradle. It's really a backdrop, half twister backdrop, and once again, before tackling it, consider the size of your trampoline. If you think your trampoline is too small to tackle this skill, wait until you can practice it on a larger model. The first thing we'll do as a build-up to the cradle is to revise the half twister backdrop. From a straight jump, go forward as if you were doing a front drop, then twist by turning your shoulders in your normal twisting direction to land on your back. Now we revise the backdrop to front drop. So from the backdrop, kick the legs, tuck, then open out for the front drop landing. While you are doing this, take special note of when you see the mat and compare this with the moment you twist when you do a half twister backdrop. And now we virtually join the two together, thinking of a backdrop to a front drop. From your backdrop landing, kick the legs as if you're going to front drop, but when you see the mat approaching, turn your head and shoulders in the direction of twist and land in the normal backdrop position. So, backdrop, kick, see the bed, half twist, and you've got the cradle.
So once more, treat the trampoline with respect. Apply the safety rules I have mentioned. Learn the skills on this tape in the correct sequence, no somersault to remember, and you would have learnt to use the trampoline the safe way. Good bouncing.